The excitement in Phoenix is rambunctious as Mike Budenholzer has now been introduced as this head coach, and me and CJ are going to be diving into some key things that we saw from this press conference. 3 total ideas that they're going to be pushing for this new Suns squad that we want to break down on this episode of Suns Digest. Welcome back. I'm Bruce Velez with my co-host CJ Pierre. Before we dive in on all this Suns news, though, 95% of you guys who watch our videos are not subscribing, and that number is going down. So CJ and I greatly appreciate it. But if you guys want to make sure you stay up to date with all the daily Phoenix Suns talk, drama, trading rumors, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as this is the place for you guys as we try to get to 1,000 subscribers. Without further ado, though, CJ, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack, as it's going to be a jam-packed episode. And like Matt Ishbia said at the end of the season, this Phoenix Suns team is willing to compete here, and they want to compete. 49 wins last season in a stacked Western Conference ultimately got them the 6th seed. But if we look at some tweets from Gerald Brugois, he says that Mike Budenholzer on the Suns, mentioning and competing with the calling card, saying that they got to build a team that's built with competitors and they feel like they compete for a championship here in Phoenix. And Dwayne Rankin also gives us this here from Mike Budenholzer, where he says, compete, compete, compete. Talk is cheap. What you do is powerful. So CJ, from looking at this, from hearing this from Mike Budenholzer, this Suns team obviously wanted to be a powerhouse in the Western Conference. How is this making you feel, and do you believe that they can still be a top team in this Western Conference?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that really slowed the Suns down this particular season, outside of the disconnect between the coach and some of the players, at the end of the day, was injuries. They were just rattled with injuries. The big three did not get a chance to play as many games as we probably would have liked all together as a unit. And I think that kind of played into, where they were. Now, given that, given those injuries, they still almost won 50 games. They still ended up with the 6th seed in the Western Conference. And I think that means a lot. And I feel like that is a good sign. And I see when Budenholzer looks at this roster, he sees a roster with talent. Obviously, it's top-heavy talent. But I think he sees pieces that he's going to be able to mold and put together into some kind of winning formula. Now, does that mean that this is the end? This is exactly what the roster is going to look like? Obviously not. We know that that's not going to be the case. But I think with what the Suns currently have on the roster, I think Budenholzer feels good about it. I think he has a lot of high expectations, and I think he's going to feel like the team will be in a good place.
I think so too, CJ. You brought up some great points. The injuries obviously hindering this team throughout the entire season, not really having those, key role pieces until Royce O'Neal kind of came in after getting all rid of those veteran contracts that they moved off of. So again, some tweaks around the edges, but this big three staying intact, now having a great offensive-minded head coach and hopefully staying healthy, can be a top team. And we saw, obviously, the sweep versus the Timberwolves was disappointing, but them competing with the Nuggets makes us feel a little bit better as Suns fans over here on Suns Digest. But let's get into the next part, kind of talking about the coaching and the offense here. As we mentioned, the team is ready for the same plan on offense. And as we guys know, Frank Vogel had some concerns with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant felt like he was just a spot-up shooter in the corner. Frank Vogel was obviously more a defensive head coach. But now with Mike Budenholzer being here, with his offense, being constructed with this big three of Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, all these fantastic stores, it seems like it is clicking together. If we want to look at these tweets, we can see that Mike Budenholzer said he talked with the big three and most of the Suns roster already, and they've been very honest and respectful with him in their conversations. He also mentions that he is a coach to get to know these superstars, but at the end of the day, he has to coach those guys. I think the great ones want to get better, and they're not content, they're not happy what they are, and mentioned that he'll hold everybody accountable, with also mentioning that the Suns team is going to make sure that they take more threes as part of their approach, as he doesn't want to take away from what Kevin Durant and Devin Booker do, as I think it is adding to what they do. So, CJ, we all know that this Suns team has needed some more three-pointers, some more offensive juice in here. Is this a good sign? Are you happy to hear this from Mike Budenholzer out of the press conference? Because this is making me smile from ear to ear, hearing that the Suns are going to be doing some more offensive pressure and getting those three-pointers rocking and rolling again.
Yeah, man, that's great news. Mike Budenholzer, like we've talked about, is an offensive coach, and he's going to be able to find ways to put guys like Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal in positions for them to be able to do what they do best, and that's put the ball in the bucket. So I really think that he's, when he looks at the talent that he has, I think he's going to be able to really bring the best out of them. I think that's what his vision is. It's really important that the head coach has a great relationship with his superstars. That's probably one of the most important aspects of what really makes a great coach. When you look at coaches like Phil Jackson, coaching the Bulls and then the late Shaq and Kobe Lakers. When you talk about Eric Spoelstra and his ability to coach LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh, really being able to connect with your star players and get them to buy in to what's happening is really important. And I really think that Budenholzer has that capability. He's known as a player's coach, really. He's one of the first coaches that really kind of made it a trend to not necessarily wear a suit to every game and wear a suit on the sidelines, wearing his pullover and his vest on the sideline when he was head coach of the Bucks kind of really made it, a thing. And I think, players respect him and players relate to him on some level. And I think that's going to be really important for the Suns moving forward. And I can't stress enough the idea of the Suns shooting more threes. They just played so much ISO ball, over the course of the season with so much disconnection from the players on the offensive end. Seeing more set plays run to get some of these guys open shots. Beal, Booker, Durant, they're some of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Of course, you want them jacking up more shots, more stuff from long distance. That's today's NBA. And it's going to be exciting to see that more of a focus in the Suns offense moving forward.
Same here, and like you mentioned, Beal, Booker, Kevin Durant, all great offensive scorers for this Phoenix Suns team. You got to get them involved more, and got to get those threes falling. Got to get the rhythm going, because that's something we saw with this Timberwolves series. They weren't getting those threes falling, and then when they had to, try to get to the rack and score, it was just they were too scared. They just could not go up against that physicality and that size. Got to have some different tools, and I think Budenholzer will ultimately unlock that. We obviously know we broke it down. You guys can check out our previous videos talking about it. CJ dove in on the truth behind it, but he is a fantastic offensive coach, and I think the perfect fit for this Phoenix Suns. Before we head out, CJ, we gotta get to the topic that we have been screaming about here on Suns Digest, and Mike Budenholzer had something to say about it. Could there be a point guard coming? As we know, the Phoenix Suns, CJ has been screaming about how he wants a point guard. I have been screaming how we want a point guard here, regardless if it's a cheap guy or just guy who can be a instrumental piece that can flow right in. It'd be fantastic. We got some more to look about it. We can see from from the press conference that Mike Budenholzer was asked about the point guard situation. He said there's no doubt in our mind that we need to look at our whole roster and talk about the point guard. I'm sure it's a hot button here. We need to be able to play without one. We probably need to be able to have one. We need to be versatile. So what I get from this, and what from I kind of understand from this, is that this is the smart decision for the Phoenix Suns. It's what we've been preaching. Obviously, the fans were in the live stream spamming the chat. PG, PG, talk about the point guard. We hear it from you guys. We've been screaming about it over here. But CJ, again, talking about that point guard, we've brought up some potential guys, Javon Carter, for all the names looking at from drafts to possible guys. What are your thoughts on Mike Budenholzer coming out with this and saying it? Because I think the elephant in the room has been addressed from top to bottom, and now James Jones is going to have to go out there and get a PG.
Yeah. When you look at Mike Budenholzer and his history, you look back at his past teams, his past stops, particularly in Milwaukee, particularly in Atlanta, the point guard position was so important to what his offenses did. When you look at his championship winning season with the Milwaukee Bucks, he had Drew Holiday, one of the better, not just one of the better defensive point guards in the league, but he really is a true point guard. It was setting up the offense, getting the ball in Giannis's hands for positions where he could succeed. And then when you look at during his stops in Atlanta, he also had a point guard like Jeff Teague for a while. He also had Eric Bledsoe, who, more of a combo guard, but still, a lot of responsibility on his shoulders to run that offense. So I really think that Budenholzer is going to want someone to really be a facilitator, someone who can really manage the ship, manage the personalities that you're going to be dealing with on offense, making sure that the main guys are getting their shots and getting the ball in positions to succeed. So yes, PG, 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 not Paul George. We don't need another wing. We need a point guard in Phoenix. We need a true point guard, a true facilitator. And I really believe it's probably going to be among the top priorities for GM James Jones and Budenholzer as they move forward. Finding a point guard who can, put everyone in position to succeed, and then they're probably going to trickle down into the other areas. Finding some depth on the bench, some more depth in the interior when it comes to the front court, potentially moving off of Nurkic or Nasir Little. They'll explore those options there, but I think the number one priority is getting a starting caliber point guard on this roster.
Same here, CJ. And like Budenholzer kind of mentioned in here when we look at it, he kind of said that obviously they're going to need to play without one, play with one. So my kind of thoughts of this is screaming not a big point guard. Obviously, we already have Devin Booker. We obviously have Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen all signed to these deals. We already have a lot of guards. So I could see them going the route of, maybe a veteran-ish guy who could come off the bench, or possibly even one of those guys that is at the free agent market, possibly a Kyle Lowry or something like that, who could be that guy to come in and kind of help out with this team, just being there. But you mentioned Budenholzer having great point guards in Jeff Teague, in Drew Holiday, who was a key piece for that championship run in Milwaukee coming in that offseason. Hopefully we can see a nice point guard, good assist-to-turnover ratio come into this lineup, help get this Suns setup offense ready to go and push for a championship. It's CJ. We broke down some fantastic things about Mike Budenholzer, about everything about this Phoenix Suns squad. Is there anything else you would like to say about this press conference before we close out the video?
I just really love the energy coming from Mike Budenholzer in this press conference. He's Arizona, born. He grew up watching the Suns, and just you could really just tell his passion and the emotion that he had. When it comes to being introduced and being the head coach of this franchise. And he talked about how he used to grow up, listen to the Suns play on the radio. Talking about one of my favorite quotes was that he would coach this team if it was on the moon. And just really seeing that this is the job that he wanted. He's got some energy, he got some fire in him. He wasn't coaching over the past year, so he got to spend some time with his family and really refocus. But now it looks like he's coming into this job with a new mindset, some refocus, some more new energy, and I think that's really the jolt that the Suns need after what was a very, very disappointing end to the postseason after getting swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves. But it's just the energy and the passion that he brought with to this press conference, knowing that he's talking with the big three, knowing that he's got a vision, knowing that he's got a plan. And I think that's something that Suns fans have been hoping for, where we didn't really feel like there was a plan. We really didn't feel like there was structure. Now with Budenholzer, you think there's a captain to the ship. There's going to be someone who's going to be the real leader, not just when it comes to what's happening on the court, but, having some influence off the court. We'll have to look and see what he does assistant coach wise. Obviously, there's, potential candidates that could be great assets to the team. Darvin Ham, former Lakers coach, Scott Brooks. So he was a former assistant in Portland, the former Oklahoma City head coach when Kevin Durant was there. So there's obviously that tie. So we'll have to really want to take a look and see how he fills out the rest of his coaching staff and how that's going to relate to the players on the roster.
For sure, CJ, you brought up some valuable and great points. After this disappointing season, after seeing this coaching carousel throughout the years with this Phoenix Suns team, you want to see a guy like Budenholzer coming with that energy. And you brought up that great quote, wanting to say you could go from the moon. He said, I'd do it from Denmark, Norway, wherever. He wants to be home with this Phoenix Suns team, wants to be that head coach. And if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, there's nothing more that you could ask for. The energy is unmatched. This team looks like it wants to compete. James Jones, Matt Ishbia want this team to win, and they're going to go all in this offseason. So if you guys are enjoying the energy, enjoying the passion from Mike Budenholzer, and you guys want to make sure you stay up to date with all the daily content here on Suns Digest, would appreciate a subscribe for your boy Bruce and CJ as we cover all the news for the Suns throughout the offseason, throughout the regular season. Everything will have all the drama. CJ brought up the valuable point that they're going to be doing some more coaching stuff, having to find some assistants. We'll have all that coverage for you guys breaking down here on Suns Digest. From your boys Bruce and CJ Pierre, we're going to sign off, but have a great rest of your day. Go Phoenix Suns, and welcome to Phoenix, Mike Budenholzer. Peace out, everybody.